Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here. In today's video, I will be going over 5 things that Josh Harris needs to do as owner of the Washington Commanders. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell so you never miss a video. It takes 3 seconds, it's free, please do it. Also guys, I will be at the Nats game today, so if you guys are there, just let me know and we can meet up and just talk a little bit. So, let's get right into it. So the last couple days, it's been a lot of news with the Commanders. Josh Harris got voted in on Thursday. Then yesterday was the introductory press conference. A lot of fans were there at FedEx Field. It was just a great day. And we had the press conference. Josh Harris talked about some things he wants to do. And in today's video, I'll be going over the 5 things he's going to need to do. And we'll, give it like in the next year and a half or so. That's what we're going to do. So the first thing is he needs to decide if he's going to keep the Commander's name or if he's going to change it. He doesn't necessarily need to know now, but I would say by next off season, he needs to know if he's going to change it or not. And then let's say he decides to change it, then it'll probably take another year or so. So by 2025, the 2025 season, the Commanders would have a new name. So that's kind of what he has to go through. And again, I don't like the Commander's name, but it is what it is at this point. I don't feel strongly that they need to change the name because again, there's not a lot of great options out there. I don't think they're going to go back to the Redskins. So, it's just the options aren't great. You're going to have to go through another hassle, but the one thing is that you are going, wiping the, slate clean from the previous owner. I'm going to try to not say his name as much as possible because I just don't want to talk about him. So you're starting from something new, and the previous owner, made this name, and if it sticks and it's a name in 30 years, people are still going to think about it. So I definitely think it could happen. I definitely think about, that it could happen. And I love how he said, it's not about how I feel, it's about how the city feels about all this stuff. And I feel like very, very few Commanders fans like the name. There's probably a third of the fans that don't care if they are going to change the name or not, and the rest of the fans feel either kind of strongly about it or very strongly that they need to change the name. For me, I'm probably in that 30% that I don't really care that much either way. Again, I don't really like the Commander's name, but I don't know if I want to go through the name process. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. I'm in the middle between kind of wanting to change it and kind of wanting to just keep it. It is what it is, but he needs to decide that within the next year and a half or so, and that's something that him and the new ownership group are going to have to definitely do their research on, see how much it's going to take, and also before they decide what the new name or if they're going to change the name, they got to see if there's a potential name that they would like out there, because if there's not, well then you're just you're just downgrading or keeping it, getting another crappy name, not a great name. So next thing he needs to do, and this is something, some of the things I'm going to talk about are things he can do right away. Some of the things are later. This one's right away. This, one thing he needs to do right away is, improve the fan experience in terms of, okay, there's things in the stadium that could get upgraded. He already put in the rails, make sure that the stadium isn't flooding during game days like they were in the last couple years. Maybe make concessions a little bit cheaper. They already started to add some, new, restaurants and stuff the last year or so. That's what Jason Wright's done, which has been good. But stuff like that, little things that you can, improve the fan experience. Also, this is a kind of a different thing, but I'm going to put it in this category. Improve the player experience. Things like, treating the families better. Maybe, giving them better hotels or whatever, better flying experiences, stuff like that can improve the players, satisfaction with the team. And, when the players, players' family's more happy, he's going to be more happy. And that's stuff you can do right away. Like their report cards that the NFLPA came out with, they were the worst team in the league. F- was their grade for treatment of families, the training facilities, the travel experience, all that stuff was so low. And again, the training facilities, that is something down the line that they're going to have to, they're going to have to do. That's another thing I didn't have in the video because there's so many things he needs to do, but that's another one. Rebuild the facility. But stuff like that, can get the report card from an F minus to maybe a C minus by the end of year one. And that's like, the thing is, a C minus is not a good grade, no, but you can't go from an F minus to an A plus in a year. It's impossible. It's impossible with how much money you're gonna have to spend and how long it takes to build things. It's just not possible to rebuild and make a totally new practice facility in a year. But you can hire more quality people, improve the fan experience, improve the player experience. Like, you can improve a little bit of the locker room and stuff. You can't completely redo it, but you can add some new innovating things and improve it that way. And I think that would help out the player and fan experience kind of both in one. And that's something they can do right away in the next few months. So that is one thing. Next thing is stadium. This is more down the line, but I would say in the next year or so, they're going to have to decide where it's going to be. And from hearing the owners speak, from Josh Harris, Mitchell Rales, I really, really think they want an RFK. I like Josh Harris talking about, how he loved RFK, Mitchell Rales talking about it as well. Like, these are like childhood memories for them. And, they had childhood memories at RFK, around RFK. And I really think they're going to try to bring it back to RFK. What I do believe, I just don't think they're going to want to stay at FedEx because, again, that's another tie to the previous owner. I think they want to go as far away possible from everything that had to do with the previous owner. So maybe that's the name. Maybe that's a stadium, just practice facilities, everything. I think they're going to try to do that. And if you're just rebuilding FedEx Field or putting it right next to it, it's just kind of, people are going to think of, the same old team. But if you bring it back to DC, RFK, well, that would be a completely new feel. Or if, RFK would be a new and old field because you would be, thinking about the past, the glory days, and thinking about the future. Or if you just did a new stadium in DC, it would just be the new team. So that's something you got to decide in the next year or so, where you're going to build it. And then once you do that, it'll fast track it and you're going to be able to build it within the next 7 years by 2030. If you decided this year, you might be able to do it in 2028, 2029. If you take a couple years, it's going to be after that. It might be 2031, 2032 or whatever. It might be a while. So they got to decide quick. Could be in Virginia, could be in DC or Maryland. I really, really hope it is in DC. So that's another change thing that Josh Harris is going to have to do in the next year and a half or so. Again, not building the stadium because that's impossible, but just deciding where it's going to be and, how many seats and stuff like that. You got to start to decide that soon. Another thing. What are you doing with Jason Wright? Are they going to keep him or are they not? It really seems like the fans are, turning on him a little bit. I mean, look at the comments, that comment, that comment, that comment. For me, I don't know. The guy is really well-spoken and he's done some good things. He's made some mistakes. He's a really nice guy. I just don't know because the guy worked under Dan Snyder, man. I said the name. It's not a crime to say that. I just don't want to say it. But the guy worked under the worst owner in NFL sports. So I have no idea how many of the decisions were his or were Dan's, or maybe had a certain idea and then Dan was like, yeah, I like that, but maybe let's do this as well. And then it just completely ruined it. That's kind of where I'm at with this scenario. I just don't know how much of the mistakes over the last couple of years were Jason Wright versus Dan Snyder, the previous owner. So I would say that, I think what they're doing is good. Give him the year. See how he does. If he's making the same mistakes, okay, maybe you don't keep him. But if he shows that, it was the previous owner's fault and he starts to do really well and has no mistakes, then, well, there's no reason he shouldn't be the president. So that's kind of my thoughts. Again, I know people are frustrated with some of the mistakes, especially the Sean Taylor stuff, but just want to see what he can do without someone like Dan Snyder as the owner. So that's kind of my thoughts right there. And next one, this is one of the biggest ones. decide what you're going to do with Ron Rivera, the whole coaching staff in the front office. This has to be done by next offseason. If the Commanders go out, win 10, 11 games, hey, if they win, let's say, 11 games and Sam Howell looks really good and he looks like a potential franchise quarterback, I don't mind giving Rivera an extension. I don't know about an extension, but being like, okay, Rivera is going to be our coach for the next couple years for the rest of his contract. Or maybe somehow doing something with Bieniemy and the front office. But if they go 7-8 wins, it just got to be right away. We're moving on. I think it would be a big, big mistake by Josh Harris. I know he respects Ron and everything, but if Ron Rivera goes 8-9 or 7-10 and we miss the playoffs and he keeps him, I think that's a big mistake. So by next season, by next January, middle of January, you got to have that figured out whether you're going to keep him for the next couple years or you're going to move on from him. I think that you need to, if it's not a playoff season or, really good playoff season, think you got to move on from him and, hire I don't want a coach-centric approach. I want you to go ahead, hire a GM. So Adam Peters, the Kansas City guy, there's other guys as well. Hire that guy as a GM or president, whatever you want to do. And then have that guy choose the coach and, then have the coach and the GM collaborate with who the other coaches are going to be. That's kind of what I want to do versus what we did with Rivera, where it was just messy. Looking back on it, it was messy. They hired Rivera. They let him, hire the OC and DC, which was, fine. The DC worked out. The OC didn't work out, and Kevin O'Connell was right there. But then waited a year and then hired his own front office. That's not how it works. So, and they could also have two presidents. They could have a president of the business operations and then a president of football operations. They can do that. So that's something that they can do. Hire someone like Adam Peters as the president of football operations, and then he hires a GM under him, and then the assistants and all the scouts and everything. That's something they can do. And that's something they need to figure out in the next year or so. So the things I talked about, the name, if they're going to change or not, he needs to make a decision. A lot of these things are just, okay, make a decision whether you're going to do this or not. Some of them are things he needs to do, like improve the fan experience, player experience, and, stuff like that. Eventually, make a new practice facility and improve that. And then, choose where the stadium is going to be. Decide if Jason Wright's going to stay or not, and then decide if Rivera and company are going to stay. So that's kind of it. I want to hear what you guys have to say. There's some other things that he's going to have to do as well, like revamp the analytic department, stuff like that. But I think these were the main things. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.